Hello, Aquarius. How's everybody doing? It's great to see you. Great to be here on a Friday. I hope for those of you in the US that celebrated Thanksgiving, you had a good holiday. For everybody else, I hope you had a great week. We're going to be looking at the month ahead here. We'll be looking at the next 6 to 8 weeks, encompassing most of December. But again, it can go about 6 to 8 weeks depending on when you watch this. And the way that this is designed is that you can look at it for your sun, rising, moon, and Venus. Also, if you ever need to just show up and get some messages, show up. It really doesn't, so I'm going to put Apollo down so we can focus. It really doesn't matter where your sort of placement is. The way that I work is that if you choose to show up, I'll tune into your energy and I usually bring through a message that resonates. So let me introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. And like I said, we'll be looking at the sign of Aquarius today. And the way that I organize this is in a few distinct parts. So just to set up expectations, let me quickly go through that. I begin with all the channeled messages that I've been working on here while you are waiting. And basically those come through to me in a combination of dreams and also researching too. So I'll see symbols in my dreams and then I research them a bit to get some information. And just like a tarot symbol, I can actually use those totems to bring forth messages for everybody that shows up. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll go into the Celtic Cross, looking at the cards themselves. And that'll really give us a chance to see some more granular detail in what's going on. And I don't theme the Celtic Cross to be in any one particular part of your life. Whatever needs to show up will show up. Then we'll look at specific areas like health, wealth, love, and destiny. And then after that, I'll pull one card, or I'll kind of look at all the facts and I'll sum up a big idea. And then we'll move along to a newer portion where we'll look at blessings and blocks, which will show us things that we can embrace and possibly like avoid if there's any sort of issues that are not in your best interest. So we'll make sure that we look at both of those. Then I usually throw a question out to you to vote on while I do a reader's choice. So we do a reader's choice and a viewer's choice. And then after all of that, we'll do a meditation. And at the very, very end, if there's anything that I didn't cover, since this is general, you can meditate on it. And I'll pull one last card to read the energy of all the questions that are incoming. So there's a lot. It's a lot of fun. There's some interactive polls that we'll do. I may let you choose the deck. That's something that I do sometimes because I wasn't specifically drawn to one. So I'll probably pick like 3 or 4 of my favorites and let you choose what we're going to read with today. That's one of the bonuses of showing up. So great to see everybody today. All right, let's get started. Before I do that, actually, just a couple of quick notes here. Maria Margarita will be your moderator. So if there's any questions, she can point you in the right direction. Let me go ahead and paste my my website and social media links here, just in case you want to follow me there. And if you are new here, by the way, please give a like and follow. That actually helps other people discover the channel. If you ever wondered why a lot of creators say that, the algorithm that is YouTube basically will prioritize things that get a little bit more interaction. So hitting that thumbs up helps. Subscribing if you've never subscribed before helps. And then later when this is on replay, leave me a comment. Let me know what you liked. That always helps. If you'd like to go a little bit further, let's say you show a lot of, like you show up here to 3 or 4 readings a month. If you want to join or do a super chat, you can use this icon by the emojis to do that. And there's a few different membership levels if you'd like to join. Completely optional, but that helps as well. Also on replay, if you want a more interactive way to do it, you can do thanks. It's very close to super chat. It'll give an animation and it also informs me and I always heart those later. Okay. Finally, I know that I write a lot here, so if you ever need to kind of like get some of these notes, I post the written notes on social media. And that link that I put in the pinned comments will give you links to all of these. Remember that this is the only way to interact with me, and I don't do personal or private readings. So if anybody tries to impersonate me on social media, that's not me. Okay, so let's go ahead now and take a look at what's coming through today. You have 2 symbols. I'm going to actually pull up a couple of images while I'm talking here since I was doing so much writing initially. So the first is going to be the hourglass. And the second one is one of my favorite sort of symbols because it reminds me of where I used to grow up as a kid. There was a weeping willow near where I lived. So I find that it's a very nice symbol here. So let's go ahead and get an hourglass. I think we all know what it looks like, but I'm not going to assume that any part of the audience knows it automatically. So let's just take a look at some hourglass images here so you know what I'm talking about. So for any of you that watch soaps, it'll remind you of like Days of Our Lives. It's the old-fashioned sort of hourglass, right? So basically small granules of sand moving through 2 pieces of glass with a small sort of piece in the middle. And that's basically varying degrees. Sometimes it can be an hour, it can be a half hour. For those of you that remember your grandparents having like an egg timer, I think you can still buy those. Sometimes it's like 3 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that. So most of us know what the hourglass looks like. I just wanted to make sure. I'll save the willow tree for when we get to it. All right, so for the hourglass, it has been around for a while. It was one of those things when I was doing research that basically there was an inconclusive start date. What I did realize is that there was something older than that called the water clock. Looks like it's called clepsydra or something like that. It's basically these like two different cups of water that would kind of flow down, and it would take a certain amount of time for the water to kind of fill it up. So different ways of measuring time. This looks a lot less messy than the water clock. And it's definitely been around in this sort of common era or anything AD. There were even some messages in Greek and Roman sort of histories of it maybe being a little bit before common era or BC. So it's been around for a few thousand years, and we'll leave it at that. There's a lot of different things that can basically comprise the sand. It's not always sand. It can be silica. It can be powdered marble, tin or lead, oxides, pulverized burnt eggshells. I thought that was all fascinating. Basically, all of these can be used inside. What is interesting is all of it is broken down pieces. So when we think of sand and anything that kind of like, I always see the ocean as a part of that because it's broken down all of these sort of elements. And it's kind of like this cool metaphor for life. Sometimes it seems big, sometimes it seems overwhelming, but when you break it down in all of its sort of constituent parts, it's not so overwhelming. So one of the messages that comes through with this is to take one thing at a time. The hourglass reminds us not to get lost in the minutia because our time on this planet is finite. We don't know how long or short our lives are. So I don't like that sort of mantra that life is short. You don't know if your life is short. Maybe your life is long, right? So let's just say that time is finite. That much is accurate. There are only so many days, hours, and years that we are all going to have on this planet. So let's use the resource as let's use time as the precious resource that it is. Spend it wisely, avoid wishing it away. How many of you have found yourself, maybe when you're in school, maybe when you're at a job that you don't like, maybe when you're traveling in a plane or a train or something, wishing that you were there, wishing that it was over, wishing that it was Friday? I think we've all had a point in our life where we just wish it was over, right? Something like, let's get through this. I'm getting through it. I'm trying to push through it. Well, I get that because I've been through that, but I also realize that if you push through too many things consecutively and consistently, then you wake up one day and think, where did it go? And the hourglass is at a different place. There's not as much at the top, maybe as there is at the bottom. So we want to make sure that we're never wishing those sands through the hourglass too quickly, that every moment provides some sort of an opportunity to grow and know and learn. So be careful and be cautious and wake up if that happens, because back when like social media was first coming out, when there was like a MySpace and Friendster and Facebook was brand new, I do remember like there were 2 or 3 weeks because I was just really busy at work and I just kept saying, oh my God, is it Friday? And I posted it a few times. And there was a coworker that came over and said, are you okay? Because you're constantly wishing the week away. And I wasn't aware, this was back in one of my corporate jobs, of how unhappy I was until someone else mirrored it to me. And I thought, wow, I went and deleted all of that. And I'm always very cautious now. And I don't want to wish things away. I also have talked before about a family member that passed away who on his deathbed said, like, where did the time go? So that was a big wake-up call for me. If you're wishing away anything, or if you're trying to get through anything, pause and think, why am I doing that? What can I do to enjoy today a little bit more? There are times in our life where we're just, it's difficult, right? You're facing some challenges and you have to kind of like push through, but try to take some time to enjoy the friendships in your life, to celebrate your good health, which I hope you have. And if something isn't working with that, then prioritize you and prioritize your health to bring it all together. Okay. This is a nice sort of segue into an old Joni Mitchell song, which is, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And sometimes distance provides perspective, but we don't want to go so far that it's not within reach. So I think what you could do in the midst of some of these challenging situations is to take a break, take a breather if you want to just take a deep breath on a lunch break. Better yet, take a holiday or a sabbatical if you can or if you need to. Clear your mind and figure out, where do I sit in the equation? How much of it is my unhappiness? How much of it is the environment? How much of it is the fact that maybe I've just gotten lost in the sand, in the weeds, right? This will help you. This will help you center yourself again and help you figure out what to do. Now, one really cool thing with this particular totem is it can be reset. So hourglasses represent the end and the beginning of something. If you want to reset, this is the time to reset. Start a new chapter. And if you want to start it, now is the time. And that's basically why this came through. You couldn't get much clearer than an hourglass, which is saying, yes, it may take some work. Yes, it may take some time, but the sooner you start, the sooner you start to see some progress. So you don't have to wish it away. It just starts to happen. Any change that's necessary, the day you start to decide this is a goal of mine, you're making progress. That initial thought was the first grain of sand that went through it. The first step you take is the second. Then if you're working out, as you start to work out your body, that's the third and the fourth. All of a sudden, things are starting to move. Movement has to happen right now. So if you're holding off on anything, movement needs to begin now. The interesting thing is that small movements are already happening to us and around us, which is what I've been talking about. So sometimes we're comparing almost in a way that's unfair where we're at with where someone else is at. And we don't realize that just like a glacier moves, just like the planet is moving, just like the plate tectonics are shifting our continents, certain oceans getting bigger, certain oceans are getting smaller, some land masses are going apart, some are getting smushed together. We don't really see the change until a mountain is built, until a sea disappears, but it's happening every single day. So trust that you're already changing, you're already moving. You can move a little faster if you want to. And a lot of this is subtle. So take control over it and be more aware of it. And you're going to be happier because you're going to feel like you're a part of it, right? As I was just saying, it's not until change is almost complete that we see the grand design or the transformative energy that's coming through, that metamorphosis. So this is your chance to see the bigger picture. All right, so let's connect the hourglass to tarot because we can do that. Of course, death and judgment would be two cards, and the world and the fool, all of those, because what do those cards represent? Ends and beginnings. Death is telling you not to stagnate. There must be parts of your life that need to shift or change. If you reverse death, it's stagnation. If you turn it upright, it's transformation. Death can also be rebirth, just like the judgment card can be, or the fool card can be. So as we let go, as we release, new things come in. As something steps out, something else can come in. So this is a seasonal energy that's coming through that, which makes sense since we're just entering into sort of like the winter season. Some of you are entering into spring. So we're starting to see changes. I guess, yeah, that's right, because I always have to flip it for the other, for the Southern Hemisphere. The other thing that I would see with this is balance. And balance because we're looking at the two, there are times when like the top and the bottom are kind of like equal amounts. And if you're seeing that sort of lack of balance in your life, this is your chance to create that. So this could be for some of you, the Two of Pentacles, work-life balance. It could be the Six of Pentacles, basically trying to figure out resources in your life and resource management rather. It could also just be justice itself, which is time to make the choices that make you happy. Are you going to stay or are you going to go? Use declarative things like yes and no, which are both a word and also if you put a period or full stop at the end, it's a statement. Yes, no. There are very few things that we can do sort of in language that we can say in language that are just one word, but we can with that. We can also say go or stay. So I want you to use yes and no as the powerful words that they are. Say yes to what you want, say no to what you don't want. Show that you are decisive, show that you are picky, that you are discerning, and step into your power and authority. Just by using those words, people are going to understand where you stand, and you're going to come across as someone who knows what they're doing. Think it through, do the work, obviously, but you'll get to that sort of like powerful place if you allow that to happen. Most importantly, you are the timekeeper in your life. Create the time to make something happen, to do what matters. Don't wait. There's no room to be passive if you're trying to figure out how to get something done. So you have to almost put on your project manager hat, your timekeeper hat, and sort of say, all right, here's where we're at. This is what we need to do, and make it happen. Because if you complain that there is no time, there could also be I could flip it around and say, but are you making time? Are you asking for time? Are you asking for help? Are you delegating? Is there too much that you're taking on? Look at your life and see where the opportunities exist to just create a little bit of space. Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, I need help with this. Hey, is this really necessary to get done today? Could I push this to tomorrow because I'd like to explore this? You can always carve things out. And this is going to get me to the next piece, which was the willow, which actually has to do with negotiation. But let's pull a picture up of the lovely willow tree, just in case you're in a part of the world where willows aren't really prevalent. So lovely trees. They grow mostly near the creeks or near the water. Very, very beautiful and serene. You can see it sort of like reflecting on the water here. Let me see if I can pull up another picture of it. Like just super beautiful, right? So interesting thing about the willow tree, it needs water. It needs a lot of water. It has flexible branches, which allow it to sort of like sway in the wind. And there's a very nice sort of analogy there to being flexible, to being able to move so that the wind doesn't break you, so that the changes around you don't feel like they're overwhelming. So let's break this down. Like a willow, you're both strong and flexible. Sometimes it's best to meet someone or something in the middle. Rather than saying, this is it, being rigid and not being able to kind of like sway and move where the branches are going to break. If you can just move a little bit this way and that way, because eventually you'll come back into the middle, this is going to be a very strong tactic for you. In my dreams, I was looking up at a willow tree a couple nights ago, actually, and I just saw all of these things above me. It was almost like the Seven of Cups, where you could just pull at all of these opportunities. And then it kind of flashed forward to you being this conduit, getting on the phone or meeting in person and making something happen and surprising people because you had that ability to move things, to make a movement happen. If you bend, others will too. And this is going to be the important piece in the negotiation. Use the element of surprise to really be to your advantage. So sometimes people may not expect you to pick up the phone because you never really talked, or because you're just not someone that would normally connect with them. But there might be an unlikely ally or alliance or partnership, and you connecting to this sort of odd couple, if you will, it's going to work out just fine. So you're going to have to be the one. And I'm so sorry. I know a lot of millennial and younger folks enjoy passive communication, but this involves getting on the phone or doing it in person. You don't have to, if you don't like the phone, if it's too old fashioned for you, then do a face-to-face. It can be a little scary, but it can also be really powerful. A lot of times conversations are less nerve-wracking, a little less intimidating when you're with the person, because they may be really open. You catch them on a good day and all of a sudden things, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let's talk about it. Let's make it happen. Put it on my calendar. Versus an email coming into their inbox or a text bothering them when they have like, you've seen those sort of like things on TikTok or something where you just see like open inboxes with 1,000 messages. We're inundated. It's nice to have a face-to-face. It's nice to have that connection. So keep it like real and human with the people in your life, and you're going to see more flexibility. Take a couple of those ideas, not all of them, a couple of those ideas and share them. The thing with the Seven of Cups is it can be overwhelming. And so you're going to have to take the low-hanging fruit and say, this is the one, this is the easiest for them to deal with. All right, I'll give them a couple of options. I'm not going to overwhelm myself, and I'm not going to overwhelm them either, okay? Willows can grow exceptionally fast, but they require a ton of water. So your dreams can also kind of grow with leaps and bounds, but they're going to require some feeding. And this is where we were talking about, there's a very nice connection between the hourglass and the willow today. So if you want to do something, you're going to have to push aside some things and focus on it. Carve out the time and feed the dream, feed the aspiration or the goal. And really, you're going to see it grow faster and complete faster than you thought. But if you don't start and if you don't carve out that time and stay consistent with it, it's going to be hard to make it happen. So now is the time. And I would say, we're reading right now, and this is 6 to 8 weeks, but I would say February is what pops into my head. So if you really want to start things, if you want to see some results by February, you got to get them started now and in December, so that January and February can really start to you can hit the road running. A lot of times people wait until December 31st or January 1 to put out their New Year's resolutions. Do it now, Aquarius. This is the powerful time for you to do it, okay? I always like to look at the good and the bad with some of these totems. So one of the challenging aspects with the willow tree is that their roots can be invasive. They grow really, really fast. I like that they grow because it's showing excellent grounding, but you could also find that you're getting a little stuck. Don't get stuck in place. Don't dig your feet in so much. This is basically like stubbornness, right? Which is never a trait with Aquarius, right? But if it comes through, you want to make sure that you're trying to be flexible. So be open to change, movement, and working or living in a different way. It may not work, but you can try it. And then if it doesn't work, you can always go back to the status quo. But at least you will have tried it. And perhaps you will surprise yourself by what is possible when you try something new. So you never know. And that's what I would say. Just take a little mini step towards one direction and see what could happen for you. I hope that helps you. So just to kind of summarize, and then we'll get into the reading. The hourglass is showing you that you're part of something bigger, but sometimes we kind of just feel like that little small grain of sand. So I want you to not get lost, to get some focus, get some perspective, whether that's a smaller break or a larger break, you can figure that out, and use this chance for a mental reset. And then carve out the time, as we were just talking about, to create new things. So that might mean the end of something, saying goodbye to something and saying yes to something else. Create balance in your life. Use yes and no to become more decisive. And then everything that we just talked about here with the willow still holds true. Flexibility is key. Being open to new things is key. And making sure that you feed whatever it is that you want to create. It's going to be so important. Okay. Thank you so much to those of you that just joined. Perfect timing. We're going to look at the cards here in just a moment. I'm going to let you vote on them. I'm going to pick some favorite decks here. If you missed any of these, you can click on my pinned link and it should be on my website. I'll go ahead and just paste it out here one more time for you so you have it, and I'll pin it again just so that it's easy to see. So you can also see my upcoming schedule there. I will be back on Sunday to do a collective, and then I will be also doing Pisces on Monday. And then we'll be starting the whole new month next week. So it always keeps turning. One thing that I would also like to remind you is, again, if you joined late, you can use this for sun, rising, and moon. And thank you to those of you that have given back. If you'd like to show support, you can do that. I usually say thank you individually at the very end, but if you want to give back, you can do that by clicking on that little icon next to the emojis for Super Chat, also to join the channel if you'd like. All right, let's kind of pick some different decks that we can use here. So I'm going to throw Light Seers as one option because that's one of my favorites. Let's go over here. I'm going to select one of the newer ones here, which is the Raven's Prophecy. Just turn the camera down so you can see it as I do it. Let's take a look at some other ones that I haven't used in a while. Let's see what's over here. Sometimes I like to just shake it up. And for those of you that join live, I think this is a nice way to participate and affect what you're seeing. Okay, I always like it when I use the Wildwood Tarot. And let's see if there's anything that I haven't used for a while. I think I got a request to use the Little Prince recently, and I haven't used this one in a while. So here we go. All right, so let me create a poll, and I'll let you guys vote with these. And let's see what's coming through for you. Okay. So let's go ahead now, and let's see. Which deck would you like? And again, the first one is the Light Seers deck. The second one is Wildwood. And then we have, it's Raven. Wildwood is third. Raven's Prophecy. And then the last one is the Little Prince. Okay, there you go. You guys get to vote. And I am going to take a drink of tea while you're doing that. And let's see which one is in the lead. By the way, if you're watching this on a mobile device or on the computer, you can vote. But anywhere else, you will have to just trust that your fellow voters are taking care of you here. So let's see here. We have about 30 votes, 70 votes. I'll wait until we get to just over 100, and that'll be at least 1/3 of the people here. So let's see if we can get a few more votes in. If anybody can do it, go for it. All right, the Little Prince is in the lead right now, so it looks like that's going to be the winner. Actually, the light seers just took the lead. I'm going to end the poll here and we'll see which one's tabulated. It was very close, but I think by 2%. So yes, you chose the light seers, a very narrow margin. Okay. Thank you for everyone that participated. I always like to give you a choice if I can. All right, so we're going to take a look at the light seers deck, which is a beautiful choice, one of my favorites by far. I have a new deck that's coming in this weekend, so I'll be using that on the collective. More to come. Can you believe next week is December, everyone? While I'm getting all of this laid out, I can't believe it. This month has gone quickly. This year has gone quickly. So the hourglass was a really good choice for a symbol for you today. All right, we got some really cool cards here, some great symbols, including that golden egg, which I'm having a hard time not noticing here, which is in your Destiny card, looking really great. All right, so let me just pull the camera up here real quick. Let's take a look at what's in front of us. We'll begin with your catalyst, which is this, everything's changing. It says like apocalypsis. To me, this is very much sort of like a tower card or a big change that's happening. But when I look at this, I actually get the reverse of kind of what it's saying. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's a beginning of something new. And everything that we've been talking about today about shifting perspective, that definitely holds true here. So I think for many of you, just basically trying to focus and not get distracted by everything that's going on around you is going to be key. And to avoid any of the feelings of like the sky is falling, that Chicken Little sort of thing, thinking instead, all right, one step at a time, one change at a time. I'm excited about what today might bring. Yesterday was yesterday. This is a new beginning. This is a new step, all of the above. Okay. So try to keep a clear vision of what you're trying to do. I think that's going to be key. And know that some people deal with change better than others. So there could be people in your life that do feel overwhelmed. And I guess part of the journey for you this month could be trying to figure out how to neutralize that or to contextualize that for them. So this is particularly true of younger and older people. So children in your life, let's say if they're, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that age, if you're going to be moving or if you're going to be changing things, you've probably even seen videos of like parents getting a haircut and the kid cries. It's not because they don't love their parent. It's just because the change is so much for them that they're like, is everything okay? Older people as well can sometimes want predictability too. So do your best to navigate your own rigidity with this, and then also help those at either end of the spectrum, whether they're younger or older, or they're very, very comfortable or very, very uncomfortable, to kind of meet you where you're at. Okay. Let's move into your center card. Perspective shifting here with the 4 of Cups. Beautiful 4 of Cups here. I always like the way that the rainbow is ending right there, and you can look very closely and you see the universe handing someone an extra opportunity or something like, hey, what about this? Have you thought about it this way? So one of the things that you can do this month is to think to yourself, what if I try this? Or have I thought about it from the other person's perspective? If you can do that, it could potentially open up more happiness in your life, a new opportunity. You may also be missing the fact that someone's interested in you, that there could be a job opportunity. There could be something there that is just untapped, an untapped resource. So I always look at this as a hidden blessing card. So when you start to open up your third eye and kind of look a little bit, you might start to see that hidden blessing. So look around you and kind of step into this month with the expectation, where could I be surprised in a really positive way? Where is the hidden blessing? Where's the opportunity? And honestly, just asking yourself, where's the opportunity in any given situation is super healthy. So if you are faced with something out of your control, let's say, maybe you have to move more quickly than you'd like because your partner has gotten a transfer, or maybe you got a job in another city and you just didn't want to move, but you're moving. Maybe this is a chance to improve your sort of, if you have children, they could get into a better school. For you, it could be a chance to be in a healthier living environment, something that's more conducive to just, better health and whatnot, and you have more space. There could be advantages to that. If you were cut free from a job because you were either made redundant or laid off or fired, somehow it wasn't in your own volition to make the move. Usually to me, that is a tower moment where the universe says, I know you're afraid of change. I'm going to help you. You may not like it, but I'm going to help you. So the tower is often the universe coming through to push us in the right path and sort of like, ready or not, this is what you need. And once you sort of like surrender to the change, everything's okay. So open yourself up and be pleasantly surprised and get ahead of that kind of energy. Because if you really sort of like look around and see, then you can actually take that ace and do something with it and avoid like a tower situation or a missed opportunity. Because it doesn't have to be a tower. It could just be, oh, I wish I had thought about that. I didn't know. Sometimes it is about someone being interested. Sometimes it is about not seeing what your potential was to do something. So you've got potential is what the Four of Cups is saying in a very positive way, to sum up my long sort of discussion there. And I'm believing that strongly because it's being crossed by a very positive card, the Wheel of Fortune. And we see this wheel card with kind of chips that you would see in a casino. So one thing that this is showing is that all movement, all change requires a calculated risk. We're never given a complete guarantee. Every time we step out of the door, anything could happen, right? Anything good could happen too. It's not necessarily bad. So focus on the positive, make peace with it, and it's about your average. I don't really follow sports that much, but one sport that uses a lot of mathematics would be baseball because of batting averages. So it's not every single performance. It's just sort of like how you go overall that's important. How many times are you kind of winning on average? So hardly anybody, I should say, is 100% of the time effective. But what we do is we course correct as we experience certain things in our life. So take a chance on yourself, invest in yourself, learn from your mistakes, and do better next time. The other thing with this is also just risk assessment. If something seems too risky, or if you want to be more conservative, that's fine. But I do think change and movement is still important. So try to find where you're ready and willing to kind of make that movement happen. You have to bend a little bit this month. That's one of the overarching messages for you. Okay. So hopefully everybody's okay. It said, did everyone, I see one person said it froze up. Let me know if you need me to summarize anything. Nobody else mentioned it except Carolyn. Or Karen. But sometimes, you know how it works with this. Usually I get a note. So Maria Margarita will text me if she sees any interruptions. But if you missed anything, just put it in text so I can see it. All right, the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. This is really about healing, but it's also reminding you that small changes require a little bit of a reset emotionally and mentally. So for many of you, I think it's going to be important to look back on, let's say you did experience some debt, or you are dealing with emotional or physical healing. Then what I would say for many of you is to focus on letting go of the fear that this is going to happen again. I think that the Seven of Pentacles comes through in our life to remind us that you've actually overcome something, but sometimes there's a temptation or an opportunity that will come through one more time to say, are you sure you've learned it? Because if you haven't, I'll teach you this lesson again. So don't overextend your money, your time, or your energy again, working with the hourglass, try to focus and prioritize on mental health, physical health, and just taking care of yourself. Less is more, and that's the mantra with this one. Not resources, but not kind of spreading yourself thin so much. So do a little bit less, save a little bit more, focus on investing in new places, and be patient, because the one thing that kills the Seven of Pentacles is impatience. He seems pretty patient, but a lot of times when you look at the normal card, there's usually a guy and he's sort of sitting here holding his shovel, and he's not so happy that it's taking a while for the bush to grow. And what we see here is that it's pruned. This is kind of like looks to me like grapevine. And so if you were to take a cutting or a starting of that, you know that it's going to take a while for that to grow. So a rose bush, when you prune it, takes time to grow. If you have any sort of start and you propagate it, it will not grow quickly the first year or two, but then things start to happen. So patience is going to be really important, and I think that that's going to be key here, okay? So for those of you that are saying it's fuzzy, as long as you can hear me, hopefully that's okay. So just let me know. And I think, as Maria said, not everybody's going to have a perfect connection. I'm not showing any issues here. So I want to keep continuing. But if many of you are having issues, or if you stop hearing the audio, let me know. I do appreciate you guys letting me know what's going on. All right, moving on to the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is going to be really important for you to look at accountability. And accountability is a tricky thing. Sometimes we have to focus on our own accountability, like being honest with ourselves. And I think that this is actually the trickiest of the Seven of Swords. Like when we say to someone else, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, okay, sure, I'll try this too. And in your head, you're thinking, but actually, I already have agreed to do 3 or 4 other things. I also need to attend this extracurricular tonight. And so it would be better for you to just say, I'd like to help, but I'm going to need to know if there's something else. I have to check, because I've made a lot of promises already. So it can be that kind of Seven of Swords where you know better, but you say it. It can also be where you kind of tell a little bit of a white lie to yourself and you think, yeah, I'm ready to take on this new thing. Like usually this comes with working out or health or diet, and you think you're ready for it, but internally you haven't made that decision yet to do it. And then, of course, the traditional Seven of Swords is someone in your life that doesn't come through and they are lacking accountability. They may even be trying to get away with something. The sort of like worst case scenario with the Seven of Swords is someone's lying and trying to take advantage of you. So what you want to be this month is really tuned in to yourself and to others, and just take a half step and ask. Say, are you sure? Do you have any questions? And if, how are you going to balance? You could even, if you're a manager or your parent, you could say, how is this going to work with this? Because I trust you and I'll leave it to you, but are you sure? Have you looked at all of these things? Because I want to make sure you have the support that you need. That way, if they end up in trouble, you at least tried to warn them. But a lot of times we have to let people kind of go through that. But if somebody is lying to you or trying to do something that's wrong, then you have to step in and say, this is against policy, or you've done this one too many times. This is it. Or you would just say, we're done. So you have to kind of prune this. The pruning from the Seven of Swords comes in this. So stop something before it gets worse, basically. Okay, good. All right. The reason you have to do all of these things is you're busy. You're going to have a very busy month ahead. The Eight of Wands is telling me that for many of you, whether the whole year has kind of been dragging or whatever, I all of a sudden sort of see more. And if it's been busy, expect this to be a busy month as well. There's a missing community though. And there are people at the other ends of these wands. So what we are missing in this card is the fact that there's a circle of people around you or working with you. So just like I was saying, not to just be one little sand in the hourglass, look at everyone around you and tap into the community. If you need help, ask for help, delegate, talk to somebody, tap into, even if it's just an advisor or a mentor, there's all kinds of resources available to us. And I think this card is just really reminding us of the importance of having that conversation so that you're not kind of like letting things go to the point that it gets frustrating. So you definitely have the ability to get help, talk and ask. This is a great card for those of you that have a business. With a business, this card shows consistent, predictable sort of incoming requests or revenue. So I really, really like this. If you're independently employed, this can also just show like a lot of clients. It can also be the ability to book out or see a schedule for a while. So it looks good. It's a very auspicious sort of energy to be at the top of the spread. Keep your mind working this month. To me, the crowning card has come to represent also where your head is at. So I think that you want to focus on the next thing. Never just sort of sit with one thing. Think, okay, what's after that? And then this is my longer term goal. And this is how it all connects. And this is my long-term goal. All of that. Kind of like a business would do 3, 5, 10-year planning. You want to do the same thing. All right. So great energy coming through in the near future. This bodes well if you're looking for love, if you're in love, or if you're just feeling very creative, because the Queen of Cups connects to all of those things. She's upright. So it shows me that if you've been having a hard time, Thanksgiving can be hard, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year's, you name it, any of the sort of winter holidays can be a little challenging because there's so much of this has been fictionalized in books and in films and just in culture too, that it has to be this really grand affair, when in fact it's a day of the year and you can kind of carry with you the spirit of these events all year long. It's sort of like an anniversary. You should be kind of celebrating that anniversary all year. One day you can do something a little bit extra special, but I feel like if it's only that day, it's disingenuous. So don't build up the holidays to be more than they are. And don't be upset if they don't match what you see on a television show, because that's fiction. So this is a chance for you to have some fun, break the mold a little bit, do something new. And really, I mean, the Queen of Cups is kind of like a solo card too. You can have other energy coming in, but she's happy with herself. She's having a grand old time here. And I like that we see this sort of meditation happening as well. So this month, prioritize an activity that brings you joy. Spend it with others that you like. Do it on or not on the holiday, who cares? And take the holiday with a grain of salt, right? Whatever holiday you might celebrate, if any. Because again, it is just one speck of sand in the bigger hourglass. And that's going to be a healthier way. For those of you that, I really feel like it's a good time for you. This isn't reverse, but I want you to prioritize your mental health. And it looks like it's going to pay off in a great way. So go ahead and do what makes you happy this month. Spend some time. Also putting relationships in a center sort of space. We'll look more at love, but this is a good symbol for love for you in the next 6 to 8 weeks. All right, let's see where you're showing up, how you're showing up. When I look at you, your soul, and how it's all summarized here, more than enough is what the Six of Pentacles says. More than enough. So the only thing that's necessary is exactly what I had on that yes/no card, discernment. If you make good choices, if you're honest with yourself, if you are open to what the universe is trying to show you, if you lean on those around you and realize that there's a lot of support, if you do all of these things, and if you're patient, you're going to be fine. It's just sort of looking at it a day at a time and measuring these things and thinking, how much do I want to react? Is this worth reacting or is this not? And this is going to be important when people drive you a little crazy, right? So maybe it's your boss, your manager, your landlord, your partner, and you just think, okay, is this worth the time and energy I'm going to spend in this conversation/argument, or am I going to redirect? Have I had enough? Do I need to have this discussion, this difficult conversation, whatever? The cool thing with this is if you play your cards right, if you manage right, if you juggle right, it sets you up for growth, okay? And these two work very nicely together. So this is recovery and this is balance. Balance and recovery, two very good things, okay? And then I see some incoming resources for you. So we have the Page of Pentacles coming through. This is in the environment. And this shows me that there may be people in your life that are suddenly more awake, aware, or ready to sort of tap on your resources on your door and say, hey, I choose you. So if you're looking for work, this is an auspicious card. It's a weird time to kind of be looking for work, but why wait until the new year if you're trying to transition in a career, or if you find yourself needing to look for a job? A lot of times there's seasonal help. Money could be coming in an unexpected form or way, because we had the Four of Cups and then it was crossed by the Wheel of Fortune. This could also be about repackaging your skill set to do something different. So My undergraduate, for those of you that have followed, you know this, but it was journalism with an English minor. And then I did a film degree together, but it all kind of makes sense. I ask the cards questions. I use my writing and my communication skills and my videography skills. It's all here. But I didn't see myself doing this. I thought I might be working for a news organization or something different. So if you are willing and able to put it together in a different way, you might be surprised. So we see an opportunity, but you have to be open. Pages have to also listen. They can't just talk. They can't just deliver. They have to ingest and sort of sit with things. So integrate things. And that's part of this too. Okay. Good time for pitching an idea for those of you that are small business people or sort of like a independent contractor. Really put your heart and soul into the presentation. This is more about how you feel. You definitely want the tangible facts, but the queen is higher in the suit than the page. So emotions and delivery are going to be the most important element. Then people will take away whatever you've given them in facts and figures. For those of you that have ever been in a position to interview, but even if you've just been the interviewee, you know that usually there's a subjective piece to it. And the subjective is, do I like this person? Do we get along? Do I think they would fit well in with the group? So those sort of things matter. So really put on your best sort of like charisma and charm. It's going to get you further, faster. All right. Focus again is really key here. We have a beautiful magician card as we're looking at possibilities. So you can do anything you put your mind to. So just decide what that is. Some of you might be a little indecisive. Some of you might be scattered and doing too many things at once. The magician card is a very energetically sensitive card. So when I look at, by the way, you can almost see the outline. It's a figure 8 here, by the way, and that's part of the magician, but it almost looks like an hourglass too, right? So it's choices, and there's power in the choice here because I see the bottom of the hourglass and ostensibly the top would be here. All right, so you have to make some smart choices right now. And what I was saying about the sensitivity is I want you to trust how you're feeling. The high priestess is really good at just general psychic phenomenon. She has great clairvoyance, clairaudience, she's able to sort of like know things. But the magician can feel things. So for those of you that may think, well, I'm not like psychic in the traditional sense, but I can read people. I can walk into a room and know if it was heavy conversation or not. I can kind of feel the emotions of others. Yeah, we're talking about empathy here. And for some of you, maybe even an untapped potential to work with healing, energy healing, like Reiki attunement, or maybe even, what can I think of it right now? Acupuncture. When you're working with energy, even just hands-on healing, like you don't always have to do it with one of these traditional methods, but I see a sensitivity and even a possibility to go deeper in that. The magician is a jack of all trades. It can put its energy in anything. It chooses and see growth. So what do you choose to invest in? What are you feeling when you enter into a new situation or relationship? All of these are good. And this is the beginning of, manifestation. This is where the power sets in. The Fool was the first step. The magician is when you start to kind of like know that you can do it, right? We have the 5 of Cups here reversed, and it's in the final state here. So to me, this is showing you that there's someone coming in. I've started to read 5 of Cups differently over time. No matter how you kind of slice the 5 of Cups, you have a choice to focus on what is lost or what can still be developed, what you didn't see or what you are missing or can see. The choice is pretty clear. You want to focus on what you can do. Look at this not as a waste, not as, something that slipped through, but maybe something that you chose to experience so that you wouldn't miss something in the future. And again, now I always pay attention to the fact that there's 2 cups upright in the 5 of Cups. So there's someone there that wants to help. There's even if it's the universe and your guides giving you that extra cup here, there's always something, there's always a blessing in the 4 of Cups and the 5 of Cups. You can't always see it, but it's there. So this one is a perspective shift. This one is possibly a person that wants to come through. If you're too focused on, I didn't get this isn't happening, nobody likes this about me, etc., you're going to miss a couple of people and opportunities that do like you that would be a good fit. And even if you think things are pretty good, you might be limiting how far they could go. So let's take down the limits. Let's open up our eyes, take the blinders off, the horse blinders off, and really look around. because I'm seeing some untapped potential for you. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead now and move along to the expanded forecast. In the expanded forecast, we're going to look at the health card first, signs and reminders. With the signs and reminders, I really want you to pay attention to your what's going on in your mind and your body. Okay, so oftentimes we get these little tiny nudges. Sometimes, an ache and a pain. Sometimes it's a persistent thought. And I think what you want to really be focusing on is making peace with that, really thinking like, okay, I need to do something about this right here, right now, and I'm not going to put it off, because you may be able to avoid some sort of a situation in your life where it's just you don't want to go that far. So let's say if it is like an ache and a pain, it could be something that maybe there's a joint that's off and you need a chiropractic adjustment. Everything sort of sits in perfectly. Or if there's something going on and the doctor says, I'm so glad you came in, this is something we need to take care of. Standard disclaimer applies here. You should always go to the doctor if anything's going on. But I'm just saying here, listen to your body, which I think is sound medical advice no matter what, right? The other thing here is reminders. So some of us need to remind ourselves what we're doing and why we're doing it. So you might need to center yourself and think, is this still worth the time and energy and maybe even the heartache that you're going through? So if you're going to school, a lot of stress, finals, midterms, etc., you have to sort of remind yourself how much you've done and why you're doing it, what the end goal is, and then maybe reach out and lean on some people for support for that. Again, if there's any sort of journey or task and it's underway, this is really just about recontextualizing and thinking again, why am I doing this? We see the transformative energy here with the butterflies. So I do see the potential for you to be able to move through a difficult time in your life. So do that if you need to, okay? Let's go deeper into the cards here and see if there's some other things that I can pull out. So the first one is just generally speaking, this is a time for healing. Healing takes time in your body. Sometimes I'd like to just tell people what's going on with me. So I had a foot fracture that I had. It's fine now, but I had a bad doctor actually that I went to the first time. And as he was diagnosing me, I thought this isn't right because I could feel the pain. So I pushed, we got an MRI. There was a fracture that didn't show up on the x-ray. He gave me some bad advice and I pushed one more time and then I switched doctors, obviously, because he didn't give me a boot to walk on. So then I went to a podiatrist instead of a orthopedic surgeon. He just wasn't great, and got the support that I needed and everything's okay. But I kept feeling something was wrong and I kept pushing. And after a couple times, I'm like, this is not a good doctor. He's not listening to me and I know something's wrong. So I found another doctor that was listening and he actually showed me, it's like, yeah, it's the tendon. Actually, the bone is fine. It's this tendon that's kind of like needs a little bit of help, and fitted me for some orthotics and everything's fine. So you need to listen to your body. And that's an example of that, where if you feel like someone's missing your POV, your point of view, then go to someone else, because this can be a doctor that's not tuned in. This can be even someone telling you something you don't want to hear, so you get a second opinion. Someone's not listening. It's either you or someone else. And so this is a chance for many of you to reset that. The good news, though, with that is that healing is possible. It could take longer. For me, it took longer. But what we see is the wheel, which would be full recovery or a good recovery at that. Again, if someone maybe isn't communicating the way that they should right now, this can create stress in your life. One of the cool things with the Seven of Swords is it can also be cutting your losses. Sometimes we don't always see the positive in this card, and it can be that. What's interesting with this is also someone might be trying to ring the alarm. Listen to someone if they're telling you something, even if it wasn't what you wanted to hear. It could be for your betterment, your health and your well-being. So this could be about someone in your life. This could be about you, okay? Overall, we're looking a little bit here at balance too. I mentioned that the Six of Pentacles could come through. When we're looking at body, usually I see Two of Pentacles or the Tower as an inner ear issue. With the Six of Pentacles, it's really more about finding balance in our diet and what we're drinking and how we're living our life. So just overall moderation is going to be a really important piece. Okay. Let's see what else. There could be, for some of you, interactions with existing medications. The Magician is a chemist, at least as I read it in tarot. So when the card's reversed, make sure that if you have different doctors and different systems and you're on any sort of prescription medications, that you read the full list to both of them and that also that you just look and see if there's any interactions, because sometimes doctors get busy. So those are the main things that I'm seeing. The good news is the overarching theme is recovery, because we have the Seven of Pentacles, but you need someone who sees and listens and connects with you. And never be afraid to ask for another doctor. I've had to do that many times in my life, because sometimes I've actually been able, because I'm intuitive, sometimes I know if there's something wrong and I just have to kind of like push one more time for a different test, where I'm like, no, this is where it's at. And on more than one occasion, they're like, how did you know that? I said, I just knew it. I just felt it. Because you can feel stuff in your body. So there was one time where I could feel like there was an infection and I needed an antibiotic, and it was kind of like just there was something, I couldn't describe what was going on, but they were like, yeah, you have an elevated white blood cell count, something's going on, let's do this. And I was fine. So trust it. If you feel it and the doctor's not listening, go somewhere else if you need to. You know your body best. And we're not going into hypochondria here. This is like if you specifically have a pain, like when you have a fracture in your foot, you know you have a fracture in your foot. It was an acute pain that kind of sat there. So I was like, nah, something's wrong. So don't make it worse. Okay, enough with that. Let's focus now on your wealth card. This one's so important. All right, so the first piece is convey your meaning, which in and of itself is a powerful message. Then we see reflect on the way that you communicate with others. So I mentioned earlier about the importance of flexibility and also being able to take a stand and say yes to this. Yeah, I think this is what I think about this. And I've been talking over the past week about not feeling the need to self-deprecate. So just state it and see what they say. Also, be sure to express your thoughts and feelings from your heart, which we talked about with the Queen of Cups here, with respect and with sincerity. So important. If you don't feel it and if you don't believe it, how is anybody else going to connect to what you're saying and with what you're saying? So that's the important piece. We have an eel here, which is a very powerful, electrified sort of example of something. I think it looks like an electric eel anyway. So I would say for you, you can really charge a conversation one way or another. And if someone also is already in that charged state when you enter into something, you want to try to maybe neutralize it. Or if you can kind of build or work off that energy, that's going to be really powerful. That's the alchemic sort of magician energy coming through. Okay. Let me go ahead now and look at some additional cards here for money and work and where you're at. So first of all, I'm feeling really good about the overall journey. I'm going to turn the camera down for a second. No matter where you stand in your sort of like career, whether you're retired or you're working or out of work, what we see here is a good trajectory. There is an opportunity which could get missed because of the Four of Cups. But what we're seeing here is a journey from the Seven of Pentacles to the Page of Pentacles. And then the wheel here is kind of like over top of all of this. So I feel very good about you being able to create more. And then I think that no matter what, especially for those of you that want to embark on something new, that you have what it takes. For the rest of you, maybe looking at retirement, you might need to do a little bit more. The Six of Pentacles isn't strong enough for that just yet. So make sure that you're looking at all your investments. For like a retirement card, I want to see what I see here, but this is coming through as you. So we need a little bit more. I want you to balance things out. But I see an overall balance and an overall positive trajectory coming through. If you're already retired, one thing that I'm looking at here is it's just about, there's a lot of activities going on, it looks like, for some of you. And I really want you to make sure that how you're spending your time is good for you. Whether this is a job or an activity, there could be something going on in the recent past that it's kind of created a not so good morale. So take a look at the morale of whatever it is that you're involved in and try to improve it. Or if it doesn't improve, then cut your losses and move on. Okay. Overall positive movement here. Just remember not to stretch yourself too thin. Okay. So most of the money stuff is looking pretty good in the resource stuff. But the main thing here, if we go back to convey your meaning, people may not understand what you're trying to say. So if you are trying to put yourself out there for a job, I really want you to look at your resume, your cover letter, and just the way you're presenting yourself. If you are trying to get funding for something, let's say you're an academic and you're trying to get like a grant or some fellowship or something like that. Pardon me if I'm using the wrong terms, but if you're trying to get some sort of investment in what you're doing, then make sure that you have, maybe you need help. Maybe you need someone to help you with the presentation and the articulation of it. So you could do this sort of like research and talk to someone, and then someone else can help you package it together, because it looks like something's gotten lost in translation. And that's the important thing when it comes to money. Just like the doctors, if we're looking at just raw investments and someone's not listening to you, find someone who is, because that could also help you get to the next level. Okay. Let's move on to relationships. Okay. So we got the rabbit spirit coming through. It says, now is a lucky time. The card was reversed, but this is still really good. This, I have to say though, if you're looking to start a family, you might end up with like a pregnancy faster than expected, or you might end up with twins or triplets. If you're not looking to get pregnant, be careful because this is a very fertile sign whenever we see a rabbit. So that much we can kind of focus on first. Now, this is just good luck. If you say, I'm not lucky in love, the rabbit's coming through and it's saying, yes, you are, if you choose to be. You have to change your mind. So this is a chance for good luck to come into romantic and partnership and just love situations in general. And we're going to break it down into 3 different sectors here. So we're going to look at those of you in a relationship, those of you looking for a relationship, and for the rest of you, this could just be about family and interactions with coworkers and just general relationships, because it's not focused on love. So let's break it down and take a look. Okay. So for those of you in a relationship right now, the trickiest thing for many of you is truth and accountability. It feels like some of you may have learned something, or maybe it could even be in the connected family of the loved one that you're with, that just brings new questions to the table. And it's like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Sometimes people just don't trust themselves, and they may also be afraid of losing someone in their life. But ironically, usually by holding back the truth, it almost brings that into fruition. So take a look and just see if the person was afraid or if there was something more to it. So there could be fear and honesty that are kind of creating some issues in current relationships. For some of you, this could be a fear around talking about finances. So maybe some of you have had debt, or you spent something incorrectly. I can't avoid the gambling connection here. So for some of you, may know someone that has an addictive tendency. So whether it's money or it's substances, there could be that sort of thing that comes up and you're like, why didn't I know about this? People are good at hiding things. So that might be something that's coming through in existing partnerships. That's the past. If we look at the future in existing partnerships, some of you are just very busy, and it feels like there's this newfound sort of desire to connect. So I mentioned it earlier, make time. The relationship has to be a priority at the table. So if you're making time, but they're not, that's the conversation you have to have. Why aren't you? You said you were going to make time, but you haven't. Let's make this work, because we're in this together, right? And this is also about trusting that if you get that sort of together time, this is a chemistry card, everything falls into place usually. So trust that. I do think open communication has to happen. We only have one sword card here, and it's not the best. So I would love to see an ace of swords, a knight of swords, a king of swords, something else that's showing that communication is entering into this. Okay, let's reset it now and talk about those of you that are looking for love this month. I do think it's there. I do think it's possible. The biggest thing is, are you looking in the right places? And also, what if the packaging of that person is not what you expected? Different age, different social status or background, or, et cetera, et cetera. This could also be inconveniently a work romance for some of you. 7 of Swords saying you shouldn't do it. And then the Wheel of Fortune connected to work. This, for many of you too, I want you to take a look at the availability of the partner. So someone could be coming out of a divorce, or estranged but not divorced, or just not ready to commit to a relationship. Something about them comes through as not being completely clear. So get to know them a little bit more. In the meantime, you have a lot of work to do on yourself and work in general. So this can't be the central focus. It needs to be one of the focal points, but it does feel like there's a lot to kind of like focus on when it comes to finances, health, and wealth. So allow that to be part of this. I think those are the key things. Water sign could be coming in for sure for many of you as well. I'm reading this more as interest than a sign. So it really does feel like it's water coming in, or a very creative or very passionate person. All right. For those of you that are single and happy, or divorced and not interested in anything like this, again, what I'm looking at for you is, how are your interactions with other people looking? What's really nice is I feel like you're getting a firm understanding of finances, projects, purpose, like looking at your calendar for the next couple of months. Very organized time for you. So I think you can get a lot done, and that's exciting. And also you might find that you could sell some things, or you might just get rid of some stuff, and it's going to give you some space, and that'll also open up new opportunities, and maybe you want to replace some of this old stuff too. So I see sort of like a cleaning out happening for many of you. Still, with the Queen of Cups, if you're happy, you're going to pull people in. People are drawn to you this month. I guess it's just a question of what you're looking for. For all of you, whether you're in love, looking for love, or single and happy, the big thing here is, what do you want? Because the Seven of Swords is kind of attracted to the Seven of Cups sometimes, which is, I don't know, I'm uncertain. So make sure that you do know what you want, and that discernment will help bring in someone that's of an equal sort of energy as you, hopefully like a King of Cups or a different Queen card. Okay, let's move on to the golden egg, which is a really cool symbol here to come at the end. So the egg is in reverse. It's okay. We have a lot of symbols of fertility, and the fact that they're reversed doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen. It means that they might be happening at an unexpected time, in an unexpected way. So what we see here with the golden egg is a chance for something really, really cool to happen, a great creation for you that is unexpected. You don't necessarily want to give this away. I think you need to let this hatch, whatever this golden egg is, and then maybe just take a moment or two to celebrate and enjoy the creation process and that sort of moment of delivering it, and then say, all right, now what do I want to do with this? But I see opportunity on the horizon, something really, really great. This is your destiny card. So destiny stretches out beyond the 1 to 2 months of the reading. So this is really kind of a peek into next year. So I feel like you're setting yourself up for a really great 2022. As we look at the January readings starting next week, we'll get a little bit more depth into this. And for all of them, I might do something special as I look at readings next month. And we'll see if I pull a few cards for the next year or something like that. I usually kind of adjust the end of year readings to be something unique. Or I might do my weekend collectives or the last reading of the year, like on New Year's or something, to do something like that. But in the meantime, I want you to be planning and thinking, what's my big purpose? What is it that I can really focus on doing next year and feeling good about? I think we all need one stretch goal. If you put out that stretch goal now, I feel like you have a great chance of accomplishing it. But just like all of the stuff that we've been talking about today, like the willow, for instance, an egg needs incubation and it needs something to warm it and take care of it. So just like, a chicken would have to sit on top of that egg in order for it to hatch, you're going to have to do the same. A little bit of patience, a little bit of incubation, a little bit of feeding, all of that. Okay. Lovely, lovely messages here. Let's pull one more card and see what your big idea is, or what the overarching message is from guides, from spirit. And then we'll move along to the next part. We have the Page of Wands, and she's reversed here. So with the Page of Wands in reverse, it is about not getting stubborn, opening your mind, and being willing to let go of something. I like that we kind of have like a baton twirling sort of energy here, which is really cool. So I think that for many of us, when I said to hold on to it, there will come a point with anything that there is a delivery. And I do think that that's coming through for you. But let your ideas go a little bit. This is something, because we're focusing more here on your cognitive state. So I think for some of you, don't be afraid to pass the baton to someone else and say, all right, I've taken it this far. What do you think about this? I was listening to podcasts and kind of like how musicians work with producers and collaborations rather. A lot of times they'll take a stem of a song and they send what they've got. Maybe it's a demo, maybe it's some lyrics, maybe it's the music, and they'll send it to someone else. They work on it, then they send it back, and it's sort of like a very organic process. So maybe you've taken and developed something as much as you can. Work with somebody. Balance it out with somebody. Stay open, listen, absorb. There's a chance to probably do better by partnering with somebody. Okay, and that's the big idea here. All right, let's move on to blessings and blocks. Things to really embrace, things to potentially try to navigate around. We'll focus first on the blessing card. All right, so we have the Page of Swords. I said I wanted to see a different sword card, so I'm happy that this came through. So the Page of Swords card in reverse is saying, I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind. And I'm not going to feel like I have to embellish it too much. So if you're asked for honest advice on something, you can start by saying, are you sure you want, do you want my feedback? Do you want my support? But if somebody just wants honest critique, you can just go in there and say, I like this part of it. I think this is really solid. This is where I would focus on working. You should always begin with a little bit of positive reinforcement. And then with a constructive thing, you could say, I think we could work on this. And here's a potential way that you could solve it. Don't just say this isn't working. So try to come at it with a perspective of change, of openness, of partnership. You could say, this isn't working, but I'd be happy to help you. Maybe we can figure that out together. Don't leave the person stranded, okay? It is a fine line as you're starting something new here. We see her on a tightrope with kind of being held up by the overarching idea. I do wish she was a little bit more careful. So I would say one of the things for you to focus on right now is making sure that you're not stepping on someone else's toes, figuratively speaking, making sure that, you know, if you have to ask for permission or if you have to get an approval, that you work through those proper sort of protocols. And then the other thing here is to look beyond the book here, which she has. So when we come out of college, we have all of this knowledge, book knowledge, practical, but not the practical experience, I would say. So what's really cool is like 10, 15, 20 years into your career, you just have an ability to figure it out, to read it. And that's because you've been through a lot of things and, you know, well, this will work and I can push it a little bit here. So what I want you to do is to sort of like get your facts and figures straight and then focus. Just like driving, for those of you that are capable of driving, you know that you're not constantly thinking of all the driving rules. You've internalized that. Then you have to look at, wait, is there a pedestrian coming here? Is there someone here? And then you just know how much to push the pedal, when to turn it, how to, like, it just becomes second nature. So don't focus so much on literal interpretations or factual information. You're going to have to pull around you environmental cues and then that sort of muscle memory as well. So she's a little distracted. That's the only thing that I'm seeing with this. I like that she has big ideas, but there's some people trying to get her attention. She's a little bit in peril here. She's getting through it. But I would say one thing that could help with everything right now is your blessing is not your book knowledge. It's your muscle memory and your practical approach. So lean into that practical magic and practical knowledge. That's going to help you out. Okay. We get a little bit of a potential block with that if you fixate on the facts. All right. So let's now look at the block for the next 6 to 8 weeks. We have the Three of Wands. Things are happening faster than you expected. So it's actually a blessing in disguise here with this block. Your block is actually a blessing. But if you lose touch with what's going on, you could miss something. Like the ships are coming in, usually in this card. We don't see them yet. What I like about the surfer, though, is she's very active. So she's saying, I'm going to meet them halfway, or I'm going to show them where to go. So if you wait, someone else may get to that dock first and connect with them. So timing is of the essence. So the blessing this month is practical knowledge and practical magic, just trusting yourself. And then the block is perhaps waiting too long because, in fact, it's already happening. The good news with both of these cards is they're good. This is about saying what's on your mind when you need to. Again, that's also one of your blessings, is the ability just to put it out there. And then this one is saying that the only thing that's going to block you is just not taking advantage of something that's happening right now. All right, let's move on to the viewer's choice poll. And then I'll read a card while I put it out there, but let me go ahead and type the questions to vote on right now. So let's take a look. And it looks like all of you are seeing me fine. In the future, if you're having any issues, a lot of times you need to reset your router or just use a different device. So if there's only one person complaining, I usually don't worry. If like 3 or 4 people are complaining, then I worry. Okay, so let's go ahead now and put some things up here for voting. All right, so viewer's choice. All right, let me just take a drink here and look at these cards. The Seven of Cups, or sorry, the Seven of Swords definitely grabs my attention. So let's actually just put it there. And I'm going to say Seven of Swords. What's the deal? Let's find out what's going on with that. It could be accountability. It could be something else. We'll get a clarifying card for that. The other thing that I want to look at, oh, Six of Pentacles. So let's see where the opportunity is to find balance. How to find balance. So that'd be Six of Pentacles. Right. And then for the final option here, I want to look a little bit at the Three of Wands, which we just talked about for the block, which is how to recognize an opportunity. Recognize opportunity. Okay, so I've abbreviated these and I've also put the cards associated with them. You can vote on it now, and I'm going to do a reader's choice while you take a look at all of those questions. So as I'm looking at all of these, let's see here. You know, I'm really drawn to the luck card here when it comes to relationships. I just want to look at how maybe these, not so much in the romantic sense, but how you can really use your charm and your charisma to enhance sort of like your life in general. Like, so this is connecting with people. What's the opportunity to kind of like make a proper connection in your life? How can you do this? What can this help you with? Let's take a little look at that luck when it comes to relationships. Interesting. Okay. So for some of you, you are being drawn to connect with someone maybe that you haven't talked to in a while. The Six of Swords can be someone in your life that you've been estranged with, or maybe that, you know, it can be an old high school friend, just someone from the past. There could also be someone, some of you are engaging in a long distance relationship or business partnership. So over the course of the next couple of months, you may be doing a lot of work, doing a lot of business, or again, deciding to maybe be more than friends with someone who's not in your city, in your country, in your province. So distance is going to play a big factor, and your charm and charisma have to kind of go across the miles here. So for this, FaceTiming and Skyping and WhatsApp, whatever your app of choice is, it's going to be really important because you need to make the distance shrink a little bit, right? Movement is going to be really cool for you, for those of you that have to travel for work or are moving somewhere new, because you're going to be able to possibly meet some great people. So just the act of being out there on the go could be very advantageous. And finally, and of course, this is always an element of the Six of Swords, is some of you are making peace with the loss of a loved one. You might also be sort of getting over an old flame in your life, and this is the healing process. So you're midway between. You've got you got six birds here, but a few are trying to pull you forward, and a few are in the back, kind of like pulling you backwards. So it's about, where do I stand? What do I want? And you're making progress. So just give yourself time on that. Okay. So let's go ahead now and take a look at what you voted on. Looks like many of you are interested on the Three of Wands, but I'm going to let the poll finish up. We'll make sure that that was indeed it. So it's a cool Three of Wands, by the way. Let's pull it up here just because I think it did win by 53%, by a lot, actually. Okay, so here's the illustration. Again, one of the cooler Three of Wands, but what's missing from the equation here is the ships coming in. So let's see what you can do to recognize that opportunity. And it's also even a combination of the Four of Cups, too. So it's a good question here because it ties together, too. So let's see. Where's the opportunity? How can you recognize it? What should you do about it? Okay, so for many of you, you may be wondering, should I move? The Ten of Wands is saying yes. Should I move on? Yes. Should I leave? Yes. Should I move up? Can I move up? Yes. Moving is key to this. That is why you can't just wait, and it may not come to you where you're at. So this is really about pushing forward. So the Three of Wands is saying this will happen faster than you think. For those of you looking to move, this could be positive as well. But yes, it's time to move. It's time to move on, to move up, to move out. There has to be some movement in this Three of Wands. So how will you recognize the opportunity? This could also be an outsider coming in. So for those of you that are waiting for a synchronicity or a sign, even as you're starting to do the work to make some sort of a change happen, to me, the Ten of Wands could be someone, again, from a different country, different state, different background. So the two of you still have to kind of like meet in the middle. There's a similar sort of message here. These three kind of work nicely together, interestingly enough, and they're in that order. So this is the opportunity. This is you halfway between, and this is the other person kind of also working towards that. So you're going to have to bridge the gap here. So some of you, distance in relationships is going to be a very, very important factor in the next couple of months. But movement. It does look like it's all for the best. I will say that. The Three of Wands is good. So if you have to make that move, if you have to make that change, it's going to be fine. You do have a choice with these cards. They're a little different than like the Tower would tell me the move is underway, or the World, but this one they can either be like back and forth or permanent. And I think that's really the question for some of you is, do you know where you want to go, and are you ready to commit to that? As soon as you are, then things start to fall into place. Okay, good. All right, so just to summarize, we've been through everything, which looks good. So we're going to move into the next portion, which is going to be the meditation, and then I'll pull a final card at the end. So before I get into any of that, take a moment and scribble down your question. So if you're new to me and new to how I read, we'll do a brief meditation, but then I gift you something for sticking around the meditation, which is a final card. So if there's anything I didn't get a chance to answer, we all have specific questions, and this is a general read. You're in luck because I'll pull one extra card at the end. So write the question down, or keep it close in your head so you don't forget it, and I'll look at that in just a second. If you missed anything today and you want to look at any of the note cards that I wrote, you can see that on my social media. Again, I'll post the link in case you need it here. And oops, sorry, did I not put it out there? Oh, Tara, no, that's what I just did. Sorry, let me grab the link here. Not that, this. So here's the link to this. Okay, and I'm going to retract that. Okay, so there's the link if you want to look at upcoming schedule, etc. And in the meantime, if you want to show a little bit of support, you can do that by clicking this, and I will say thank you at the end. In the meantime, let's get into your meditation. You know, I really like the golden egg. I want us to imagine that we are going to see something come out of the golden egg, something that you're trying to create in your life. So what we're going to work on is creating a safe little nest of energy around you. And then just imagine that you can hold it. We don't have to sit on the egg. You can just imagine that you're holding it close to your heart. All right, so that's kind of the scene. I'm going to put up a poll while we're doing this. So if you'd like to choose the instrument, you can. Otherwise, you can just listen and allow people to do that. I have a crystal pyramid that I can play. And I also have a singing bowl. So if you'd like to vote on that one, you can. In the meantime, I'm going to set up the scene for the meditation. So vote if you'd like. Once you've voted, close your eyes. First things first, just take a moment here to tune into your body. So sit up tall for a moment. Imagine that you're pulling a ribbon of light through the center of your body, and it's kind of pulling up your posture, relieving and releasing any sort of tension that you might have on your shoulders. Take a nice deep inhale as you're doing this. On the exhale, you can relax, just feeling this sense of ease setting in. Take a moment to also relax the muscles in your body, disengaging your jaw a little bit, allowing your eyes to relax, falling a little bit deeper into the sockets, letting your muscles start to just drift away a little bit, allowing your body just to be supported by the chair, the bed, the floor, wherever you happen to be at this moment in time. Imagine now that around you is this wonderful, energetic nest here. And rather than something that's kind of hard, imagine that the energy is kind of like a blanket, like the soft blanket that you're putting around you. You can imagine feathers if you want to, that there's this nest filled with feathers or yarn or blankets, whatever, nice and soft, almost to the point that you could almost take a nap on it if you wanted to. You can lean back and relax in this beautiful nest that's around you. And as you sit there, you find this golden egg, which we saw here in the card. I want you to pick up that golden egg. It can be as small or as large as you'd like it to be, and hold it close to you. Make a wish, set an intention, set a vision for whatever it is in your life that you want to see happen. This could be a change within yourself. This could be the realization of a goal. This could be the connection to someone or something that you've been longing for. Let that wish go. Know that the egg now is containing the essence of that wish, and bring it close to your heart. If you'd like, you can just kind of keep it in your energy, knowing that it will come to fruition when it's time. If you'd like to take it a step further, you can imagine that while I play the instrument, in this case, the crystal pyramid, that you're going to be able to see it start to come into fruition. Remembering that much like the hourglass, change happens slowly. So maybe you're just going to start to see the egg crack open and you can start to see what's inside. It will probably need some time to develop on its own, but today is the first step in the realization of that dream into bringing this into fruition. Close your eyes, hold the egg close to you, and imagine now that you are going to create that which you desire. Start to see the energy in the egg moving. Start to see whatever it is that you wished for coming a little bit closer to being a reality. If you'd like to, you can carry that energy of the golden egg close to you. You can imagine that you just plant it in your heart center, that you start to see that light, the golden light, permeate your heart space, your chakras, and it starts to become a part of who you are, infusing it into all you see, all you say, all you do. Take your hands, rub them close, rub them together like this and bring them close to your heart, putting your left hand on top of your heart, your right hand on top of that. Taking a deep breath and feeling now that you are one step closer to creation, bringing in the energy of the magician, which we saw earlier, combining it with that golden egg. Open your eyes when you're ready. Take a look at the question that you wrote down, or if you just joined, think of a question that you might have that you need guidance on. Hold that in your thoughts. Let's take a look at what the cards have to offer for you. Okay, so we have the 10 of Swords, a very interesting card to come through for a final question. This is a surprisingly optimistic 10 of Swords. Usually the 10 of Swords, we would see someone on the ground with the swords in their back, in a pool of blood, rather vivid. This one, we see someone who is moved on. It's a forgiveness card. It's kind of like the flip side of the 10 of Swords. And you always see a new day starting in the 10 of Swords. This one, the day is underway. So one message, this is not as simple as a yes, no, but I'll I'll dig into it for you and try to give you as much clarity as possible. The first thing that I see is that it's a confirmation that things should start to get a little bit better, start to look a little bit sunnier, a little bit brighter. There's an internal choice for many of you to choose the path of happiness, to choose the path that isn't going to involve going into an argument or getting your buttons pushed. So a lot of times we have people in our life that know exactly how to trigger us. And this card is wisdom personified. It's saying, yeah, I know how that story ends. I know how that goes. And I'm not going to repeat that because it didn't work before. So you're wiser now. You're stronger now. And you know when and where to focus on, something that you want to fight about or for, etc. As a yes, no, this is usually a no. The no would probably be because there's an easier, better, or less painful approach. But if it's a question about forgiveness or healing, I always think those are positive. Just have to make sure that the other party is ready for that. As a no, I just think that we have a lot of other cards here, like the Six of Swords and the Ten of Wands. Shows me that moving on, moving away is probably part of this. So this is about making your peace with what it is, stepping away from something and moving forward. Reset, okay? So you have encouragement from me to move beyond a situation where you're not happy. And that's really what this card is showing. So whatever that is, it's not so simple as yes, no. Judgment reversed is simple. It's like, yeah, no, you're not supposed to do it. But for this one, it's not that clean cut. There's something going on where it feels like it's a choice between your happiness and something that you don't want to do. So you should always choose happiness, okay? And fulfillment, and forgiveness. All of those things are kind of coming through with this, all right? But you're going to be fine. This is the sunniest Ten of Swords I've ever seen, but it's because of all the things we just talked about. Moving on. I mean, these are moving on cards. All of these have kind of told a story today. So, and it's going to be okay, right? So this one was showing it's going to be okay. This was the beginning of the movement. This is telling me that once it happens, it's pretty fast and you're already further down the hill than you think. And this one tells me that by moving, you avoid an outcome that you might not have wanted. So I definitely see a story coming through in those cards, and I hope that helps you. So there you go. That is today's reading in a nutshell. I hope that you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to read for you, Aquarius. If you'd like to show a little bit of support that involves nothing more than a click of a mouse, hit the thumbs up before we wrap up here. And if you're brand new, subscribe. My channel, I would love to see it grow a little bit more. So also sharing the video would help. If you'd like to get notifications, you can opt into this. You can join me on social media because we know YouTube's notifications can be a little wonky. But if you join me on Facebook, Instagram, etc., then you'll be able, particularly these two, or Twitter, you'll be able to see when I send out a notification of new content coming through. Okay. And members, if you join every weekend, I can email you when I do the Sunday reading and you get a chance to vote. So if you'd like to join, you can click the join button. You can also do that through the same place where you give super chats and super stickers. And on replay, you can show thanks by clicking thanks next to share. And that is all of that. So let's go ahead now. And I want to say thank you to everybody that helped out. One last note, if you like books, I did write one. It's called The Luminous Ones. It's very much like Lord of the Rings or Dune. You can go to my website for more information. One more time, let me go ahead and put out the schedule link. So here's a link to our schedule, upcoming schedule, and a reminder of what I'm doing next. On Sunday, I'll be reading a general reading for everybody, a collective, and topics will be decided by all of you. And then on Monday, I'll be doing Pisces, and I'll probably, maybe on Saturday or Sunday, I'll try to announce my new schedule for the next month. I need to sit through and look at the calendar. And there's a few dates that may shift. So if anything changes next month, I usually am able to announce it by the beginning of the first week. So more to come on all of that. Let's go ahead and say thanks, and we'll wrap this up for today. Okay, so let me start by welcoming in any new members. So let me just give this a quick refresh, and I'll say hi to anybody that joined today or just the past day. So let me see here. Who's new? All right, so looks like we have a new person, actually someone that rejoined, Megan Pampu. Welcome back. You rejoined, and it looks like you'd been a member for a month before, so it's good to have you back. Stacia, also welcome back. You'd been a member for 7 months, and you just rejoined. And let's see, I think Karina Garcia Figueroa also joined. Good to have all of you. So those are the ones that joined in the last day or just today. So welcome aboard. Let me say thanks to those of you that gave back with a super chat or super sticker. So let's go back to the beginning here. All right, Georgianne, thank you so much for that $20. I'm glad you enjoyed the readings here. Let's see, I hope I say the next name right. It looks like, I'll just say the number or the letters, E2, kind of like et2, Brute. Thank you very much. Dale, Natalie, Shinto, Maria, Starseed Aquarius, Light for Love, Shireen, Ruby Red, and Linda. Thank you all so much. It's great to have you here today, and I appreciate what you gave back. Hope you have a great week ahead. And again, we're entering into holiday season here. So whenever you see this, I hope that the month is great, that the holiday is great. And I'll be back again in December reading for January. So there'll be some great energy and information coming through in the next few weeks. So keep an eye. And in the meantime, thank you so much. Thanks, Maria, for your help today with moderation. I see we got one last contribution there from Sylvia. Thank you so much for that. All right, everybody. From my heart to yours, I hope you have a great day. Good to see you, and I'll see you again on Sunday for the collective. All right, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.